listeners. This is Nick, and I'm here to answer the most pressing question we always get. How do the Honolulu Blues stay so current with Detroit Lions news? And no, it's not because we have Brad Holmes' number yet, but it is because we are on the app Autograph. That's it. Just download the app Autograph and use the referral code GOLIONS, one word. There, you can get the latest news, articles, podcasts, and all the best content for your favorite teams, like the Red Wings, Tigers, Pistons, Wolverines, Spartans, and of course, our beloved Lions. But that's not all. The more content you read or listen to from the app, the more points you earn. Then you can use those points at chances to win free jerseys, collectibles, and even tickets, including a free ticket for the Lions vs. Rams season opener at Ford Field. Yup, just read the same articles as you would while you're at work. Just do it through the app and you could be sitting next to us at Ford Field. Make sure to get the app Autograph and use the code GOLIONS. One word. Now, let's get to the show.
I'm coming. I had to get my pumpkin, baby. It's the Lions victory pumpkin. I wish I had 17 of these so I could smash one every time we win. But we'll do. This awesome pumpkin is on its way to be getting moldy. And you were on the episode when I said I would eat a moldy pumpkin seed if we go 17-0 and or win the Super Bowl. One of the two. But we're the Honolulu Blues boys. We got me and Julius today. No Nick. But don't worry, you'll be getting some Nick and Julius later on this week. So, first things first. Julius, what is going on, my man? I see. Let's just dive in. Give them a little tease. Tigers. I see it's on your shirt right now. We can't not talk about the Tigers just for a little minute here. 3 games back. Do you think these guys have an actual shot to make the playoffs? Big game tonight against Colorado.
I mean, the schedule is pretty favorable. They can get pretty close. I think if they can sweep Colorado and, have Kansas City lose a couple more, or I'm not sure who's exactly in front of us.
So Kansas, I mean, they're both kind of fallen, but so the Kansas City is 5.5 games ahead, and the Twins are 3 games ahead. So there's a chance that Kansas City just straight up implodes and,
Well, we're 3 games out the wild card. There's plenty of games left. It's very much possible, but it's just crazy to say that after thinking they were selling the whole thing at the trade deadline at the All-Star break. And now all their young bats, all their young players are coming together and it's working out. Tariq Skubal about to win a Cy Young. Definitely it's going to be bigger expectations next year. This is like the Tigers' 9-8 year they had a couple years ago.
Yes.
The Lions had won 9-8. This is the Tigers' 9-8 year.
And Nick made a great point to me where he's like, I think what's going to happen. The Tigers are going to do all they can. They're going to win that very last game, and it's going to come down to the Twins winning or losing. And the Tigers are going to win earlier that day, and that the Twins are going to win in the same fashion how the Red Wings got bounced from the playoffs, where we won our last 2 against the Canadians, absolute thriller games, and then the Capitals just ripped our hearts out. So if that does happen, I still will be happy with the fight we put up down the late stretch of the season. It gives me a lot of hope, especially because our team is like one of the youngest, if not the youngest in the MLB right now. We got Torque coming back up. He's playing a lot better. Jace Jung's playing, kind of getting into a groove. So good things to come for our Tigers baseball team.
And our Red Wings they're kind of on the same level of hope, I would say, as the Tigers. It's just the Pistons that saw just treading down all the way down in the bottom of the trench.
They're still an NBA team. So like Nick said, Lions starting, Tigers going to be in the ALCS, Red Wings are playoff bound, and
Bro, if the Tigers go on a playoff run, do you think it would overshadow the Lions right now?
Wow.
It would, right? for that playoff. Like if they won the wild card
So
and they won they went to the ALCS. Let's just say they made a run to the ALCS. The Lions will all of a sudden be second in town.
Detroit would explode, man.
That'd
Having
be
the Lions
nuts.
and Tigers just like be essentially playoff contenders, both teams. Oh, it would be.
Do you know Irish Mully mentioned me?
Love it. We got you, Irish Mully. But enough of the Tigers. This is the Lions podcast, baby. We're here to talk about the phenomenal overtime win that we had. But first things first, Julius, let's dive into the peak performer, player of the week. And we discussed this before the show, but I'm sure you got a couple names you're thinking of. So who is a guy that, stood out? We do know that Anzalone and Montgomery were the two that got the game balls. J-Mo also got a game ball as well. So 3 great candidates there. But was there anyone else that, you would give that peak performer, player of the week to?
I almost want to give it to the DB that dropped that last would-be interception from Jared Goff in the fourth quarter. I forgot who was. I think it was Tony Adams that maybe dropped it, but I'm not going to give it to a Rams player. If I could think of it off the top of my head, I actually thought that Alex Anzalone. I know he got the game ball. We already mentioned him. J-Mo on offense. But Derek Barnes, another player that had another amazing game, he actually outsnapped Jack Campbell. For those of you that don't know that out there, fun fact, I believe Derek Barnes was the second linebacker in the sub package along with Anzalone, so he ended up playing like 80% of the snaps compared to Jack Campbell, who I believe played 50%. So it looks like the coaching staff, Aaron Glenn, Dan Campbell, are going with Derek Barnes right now. He played well in the playoff last year. He's been one of those guys, one of those Brad Holmes late draft choices that's kind of been rising every little bit year by year, kind of like J-Mo. And he's just on the defensive side. So shout out to Derek Barnes.
Yeah, Barnes did play pretty well. It was nice to see him kind of continue his strong late second push from last season. So that was huge. But I got to go. I think my guy's J-Mo. He was just phenomenal. He was the guy that every kind of Lions hopeful, Lions faithful has just been like rooting for this dude. You get some of the, serious beat reporters that are trying not to be biased. And they're like, well, I don't know. He could, might just be a bust. But, oh, my goodness, it's just week 1. But I feel like I can say I told you so to each and every one of those guys. J-Mo kicked the game off with an explosion with that. I want to say it was like a 32-yard deep pass he had, and then he, of course, had that 52-yard touchdown bomb. But, Julius, take me through some of your thoughts watching J-Mo. And for those that don't know, Julius was watching J-Mo go off at what was it, 1 in the morning over there, 2 in the morning?
It was like 4 in the morning. It was like 5 in the morning when he caught that bomb touchdown from Goff. But, bro, it was so nice to see, bro. It was amazing to see Jameson Williams, Waymason himself, Timothy, just show out on Sunday Night Football against the Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. They can't check. Nope, you cannot check Jameson Williams. He has that kind of talent. And honestly, I'm just going to put it out there on the airways right now. We were talking a little bit before the show. The way that his performance phased out Amon-Ra St. Brown in a way. It's almost like he's the new Lions wide receiver 1. And a lot of people, I remember for years, everybody was saying Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's not a wide receiver 1 material. He's more like a really good wide receiver 2, kind of like Golden Tate. Those kind of comparisons. Hey, we might be right. We might have a Calvin and a Golden Tate in the house, which it's not a bad thing. Golden Tate was amazing in his role. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, he has lofty goals to be like put up big stats like he did last year. And Jameson Williams might get in the way of that because he might be the one that put up these all-pro numbers and break out super heavy year 3, which would just be huge for the Lions. Huge, huge, huge. It's such an amazing development. It's the best development. X Factor, all preseason, all training camp. We were saying Jameson Williams. Who's the wide receivers? Who's the targets behind Amon-Ra? Jameson Williams.
I love this. Amon-Ra was basically playing defense at one point. Yes, he was. Amon-Ra actually made one of the biggest plays of the game when he slipped and still on his knees dove to just smack the ball out of the air because it was going right into a Rams defender's arms for an interception that I want to say that was right when we kicked the game-tying field goal. So, Amon-Ra,
and that happened.
It's
that happened with Jared Goff. With Jared Goff underperforming, kind of, he threw a lot of overthrown balls.
And that's what J-Mo can do for you. He's such an explosive player that Goff having 217 passing yards won us the game. Which if Goff has an interception, 217 yards at home, you're thinking there's no way. Did David Montgomery rush for 200 yards? That must be the only reason we won. And although Montgomery was hammering it down the Rams' throats, J-Mo was that X factor. He was truly what we've all been waiting for. It's just so nice to see. And the fact that it just came right away was phenomenal. And the fact that it wasn't just that first, 32-yard deep strike, that little 15-yard end around. It was more. He led the team in targets, not just by one, not just by two, but three. He had 9 targets, Laporta 5, and then Gibbs and Amon-Ra each had 6. So that tells me that this wasn't just a, J-Mo game script, fluky game. This tells me that they have a plan for J-Mo. He is going to get targets. He didn't just get deep bomb targets. He got screens. He got over the middles. He got, end arounds. It was just Ben Johnson having fun with a super fast wide receiver.
It was, and it was amazing to see J-Mo. I mean, you're going to have to give him 10 targets a game if you see him streaking wide open across the middle of the field a few times, which is what we all saw. And when they try to do single man coverage, they're going to audible. Goff is going to audible to that bomb. They cannot check Jameson Williams. Did you see how he blew that guy? The corner was supposed to grab him and stop him. That was the only way to stop that from being a touchdown. It's amazing. And I don't know if y'all tracking Tampa Bay's injury report next week, but they're going to be down some. Their Antoine Winfield, that amazing safety they got, won't be playing. They got down a couple starting corners, went down in that game in week 1, even though they really won. But man, look out for J-Mo. If you got him in fantasy, I know you do. I know you do, Adam.
Of course, man.
If you got him in fantasy, congratulations.
Of course. I took him in my biggest league. And honestly, I think I have in I think like 2 or 3 leagues, but the other 2 are either like a $10 buy-in, and one I'm almost positive is a free league that I'm doing with my little brother. So at least he's getting exposed to the J-Mo. I was hyping him up like, dude, we got him on our fantasy team. Let's go. So that was cool. But yeah, man, J-Mo fantasy, don't try to trade him. Don't try to capitalize, because if he has, 3 more games like this in the next 5, that solidifies him as a wide receiver 1, a first-round pick, a top 12 pick, a guy we traded up for pick. It's just all coming together. It is so nice, and it's finally what the Lions have won. But we have a little news today.
Breaking news!
Yes, we do have a little news. The Lions signed kicker Greg Joseph, veteran kicker from the Vikings, who ironically hit like a 54, 53, 55-yarder against the Lions. It was 2 years ago when Tucker, the week before, hit that 65-yarder. So now Greg Joseph signed to the practice squad. No, don't worry, Jake Bates truthers. I don't think this means anything for him. It's just a safety blanket in which I think Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes saw some kicking shuffles. The Commanders literally just cut their kicker. I want to say there was another kicker that didn't perform well. There's lots of rookie kickers going on right now. So I think we wanted to make sure we had at least a second kicker on the team, practice squad or whatever, just a little extra security blanket. I don't think Bates is beat up or injured or anything, and that wasn't, the reason why. Brad Holmes did mention that he was going to add a veteran kicker to the practice squad, so I think this is just when it happened. But while we're talking Jake Bates, let's talk about the dude, because he had his kind of, solidifying Detroit Lions moment in which, yes, it was like a let me see exactly how long, but his field goal he kicked to tie the game. It was just a little chip shot, But to be able to make that is such a huge confidence boost for him. That lets him know that he can make prep kicks under pressure, 32-yard field goal. So honestly, this was basically an extra point, which he missed one of these in the preseason. He's missed a couple, I believe, in when he was playing for the Panthers. But a clutch situation like that easily could have shanked it, would have Lions lose right then and there, game over. And he puts it right down the middle. Wasn't, a squabbler kick that barely went through, didn't hit any post. It was just a phenomenal kick right down the middle. And he also had another nice little, I want to say it was like a 40-yard field goal. It was
I think he had a 20-something and a 30-something.
Oh, it was a 25. So the shorter one. Okay, so yeah, it was a couple 2 chip shots. So
and he made 2 extra points.
We'll take him. Yeah, 2 extra points. But yeah, that's all I want to see. I just want to see perfection on that. Doesn't matter how far the kicks are from. Doesn't matter if it's a 60-yarder, 20-yarder, whatever. So, what were some initial thoughts on Jake Bates? And do you think that that game tying one that sent us to overtime, and then we won in overtime? Do you think this momentum is going to carry over into future games?
I hope so. I think Jake Bates is going to get his chance here soon, especially against some of the weaker teams we're going to play. I think Dan Campbell is going to give Jake Bates his shot at like the 50-plus yarders, maybe even 60-plus yarders. If he sees us with like a comfortable lead and we're like the 40-yard line, usually we'd go for it on like 4th and 4 or 4th and 5 or under. He'd be like, well, we're up a couple scores. Go ahead, Jake Bates. Try this 57-yarder out. And that's when he's going to prove himself. If he starts hitting those regularly and then he stays good with the short stuff, hey, maybe we got something from the UFL, baby.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, I think you're exactly right. It's going to be one of those. Lions are up 14 points halfway through the third quarter. We make a nice drive, and it's 4th and 6, 4th and 5, and it's a 55, 56-yarder. And Dan Campbell just says, you know what, go take your shot. And if he makes one of those, then, oh, man, the momentum will just be going up. And, one kicker that did miss on the week, Justin Tucker. So maybe the times are starting to change. The young guns are coming in, especially Brandon Aubrey, too. The Dallas Cowboys kicker was phenomenal. And even Jake Moody for the 49ers last night. So
Michigan man.
The young kickers, it kind of sucked to see him just kind of dominate with the 49ers, especially with CMC wasn't there. But I think the Lions are going to have their hands full when they play them.
Bro, it's been sad to see all these Michigan graduates in the NFL with these other teams, while the current Michigan team looks like it doesn't belong on the same field as Texas.
Yeah, that was tough. That was.
But hey, we had our great moments. We had our moments like this, our Celine Dion Rose Bowl victory, national title. Harbaugh won in his week 1 opener.
Yeah. Harbaugh won. I mean, only Michigan player that did not do anything. Corum. And it was because he was playing against the Lions, and Sean McVay knew the big bad run D that was with the Detroit Lions. We didn't even have Reader, but we absolutely shut down Kyron Williams. He had like 20 carries for.
It's gonna take a Kyron Williams injury.
18 for 50, and then he had a 1-yard touchdown, which made him fantasy relevant for those out there.
Continued our trend from last year, shutting the run down.
It was great. So, any concerns on this game? Was there anything that was like Goff's 1 interception, maybe possibly 2, a couple other little just letting Cooper Kupp dominate us again? But is this Aaron Glenn's game script? Does he just kind of let him have wide receiver 1 have his day and shut everyone else down?
You know what my biggest worry currently is when I watch the Lions play? It is Jared Goff. It sucks to say that, but I be so afraid that he is going to be the sole reason we lose. Like when he almost threw that second interception, that could have been the game right there. We wouldn't have been able to come back. But he didn't. Luckily, the guy dropped it. But I'd be worried that Jared Goff is going to like refrain something in his mind. I think that this system and Ben Johnson is built well for him to succeed. It's just like when I start to see stuff like that, I get worried that he is our weakness. And if he is really our weakness, like our Achilles heel is Jared Goff, I don't know if we are a Super Bowl team.
Oh,
So maybe if he puts together like, just an MVP type season, like Nick had the hot take Jared Goff MVP award. If he does that, I won't worry as much. But if he plays like he did in week 1, he's not going to win MVP. Even if we win 14 games, he's not going to win MVP. Aiden Hutchinson has a better chance.
Yeah, especially in in Ford Field. That's what I was trying to get. 217 yards, 1 touchdown in Ford Field.
He played good enough for us to win. It's just the turnovers.
Yeah.
He throws these picks. And sometimes it's not his fault. Sometimes it is his fault. And the fumbles, he's not the greatest. He's not the most mobile, even though he did have a couple good scrambles. I was surprised. But that's probably my biggest concern. Everywhere else, including defense, which is most people's biggest concern, I was good with defense. We gave up 20 points. I mean, Stafford had to pretty much surgically dink and dunk to Cooper Kupp the whole game just to generate any kind of offense. It worked almost good enough because Jared Goff almost gave them back the game. So that's pretty much where I stand. I'm mostly satisfied, and I'm not too worried about Goff, but I am a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. My biggest concern is the lack of finishing on sacks. I swear I felt like I was watching
trend. That's a trend.
Yeah, spin out of, tackles. And I don't know if this is a Hutch thing, but it seems like he is always the dude that just gets his hand on the quarterback and he either throws it or spins out or something. But we saw one, granted, Hutch, he was being held pretty bad on that play where he had Stafford, and Stafford turned right away and, essentially broke the sack. But yeah, Hutch gets held a lot, so that does not help. But I just want to see finishes. That Davenport-Levi Onzawerke sack combo was phenomenal to start the game. Davenport, I do think, is a guy that's going to be huge for our defensive line. You and Nick were pumping him up off season. I was a little skeptical because, coming from the Vikings, injury history, hasn't really done much. Former first-round pick, slowly seeing his chances diminish. And now, like a lot of different players that the Lions have had in the past, comes Detroit, new team, new juice, and just becomes a whole different beast. And I think we're going to see something like what we saw with Charles Harris when he was that first-round pick for the Dolphins, Falcons, didn't do much. Finally, the Lions sign him, and he gets 8 sacks and is, a legit pass rusher.
Career year, and he earned another contract. That's a great comparison with Marcus Davenport to Charles Harris. And I think you're right. The Lions are real good at that. And Marcus Davenport, I mean, he got some juice for real, man. He's pushing that line. And I do remember when he played for the Vikings, he had always injured, but he did play against the Lions, I believe, in one game in Campbell's first year, and he tore our offensive line apart in that game. He had like a sack and a half. Him and Danielle Hunter were just wreaking havoc. And so I think as long as he stays healthy, that's the kind of player we're going to see.
Yeah, and then the Lions defense, we were without DJ Reader and Ife Melifonwu. So both of those guys, 2 starters. Ife would have been nice to have in the safeties, but Branch and Kirby did their job. They were balling out there. And then Reader, him next to Aleem is going to be insane. We saw this Lions run deep pick up exactly from or where it left off from last year. And that was, top 3, if not 1. And if we're adding DJ Reader, a dude who's just known for run stopping, big old 300-pound boy, athletic. Him and Aleem are going to be phenomenal. I think teams are going to try to over-game script their wide receiver 1. And I do think it's going to come to bite a team in the butt one day where Terrion's just on his game. He's locking down whoever – I'm not going to say Justin Jefferson because that's tough to ask, but like DJ Moore, I could legit see Terrion just locking down, or even Keenan Allen, because they're both kind of, wide receiver 1 tiers, maybe not anymore, but, I could definitely see something like that where a team thinks, all right, let's just throw to the wide receiver one, and it just doesn't work. The dude gets 15 targets, but he only has 6 catches,
Yeah.
Next, we got the NFC North. So what do you think of some of these other teams? The Packers played early. Jordan Love got injured, as we know, an MCL sprain, looking to be 3 to 6 weeks. Matt LaFleur said he probably wouldn't be put on IR, but Malik Willis is for sure getting the start next week, so that'll be interesting to see how they fare with him. And then Caleb Williams just did not look good. If the Bears did not have yes, breaking news, the Bears are still trash. Their defense is not trash. I will admit that. Their defense is pretty good. But, hey, if you don't have a good offense, then you're just going to be the 9-8 Steelers every single year. So
when it comes to the division, start with the Vikings, who I was the most impressed with. Maybe Sam Darnold works out. They got some good receivers. They got a good O-line, I believe. Maybe their defense is average enough, and they can squeak in. They could be that 9-8 team in the wild card that we thought the Bears and the Packers would be. Instead, the Bears, who won in week 1 and are still as hyped, but I know y'all Bears fans are scared because y'all hyped up that offense. Matter of fact, y'all hyped up Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams was not supposed to have this type of game. Bryce Young, who is still having a horrible start to his second year, not even Bryce Young had this bad of a game last year. Go back and look at Bryce Young's stats from last year in his rookie year, which was horrendous. He did not have as bad of a game as Caleb Williams had in the week 1 win against the Titans. And Romeo Doozy was a ghost. Cole Kmet was a ghost.
Just DJ Moore, Keenan Allen.
Pretty much DJ Moore and Keenan Allen had the few catches, but their defense won them the game. And so if they can go to the playoffs and be a Super Bowl team or a Super Bowl dark horse, blah, 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 like they were talking up before the season, then it's going to just running off their defense and a poor rookie quarterback-led offense, go for it. The Packers, when Jordan Love hurt his leg at the end of that game, that spelled y'all one of the worst teams in the league until he comes back fully healthy. One of the worst teams. Y'all are not going to win a game with Malik Willis. Y'all offense is going to be just like the Bears. I was just talking about it. Y'all quarterback is going to be doing nothing like Caleb Williams did. Malik Willis is not an NFL quarterback. He should be in the USFL or the XFL. I saw him in Tennessee. If you think Jacobs is just going to run for 250 yards, I doubt that happens. You can't become one-dimensional, and you don't have a dominant wide receiver 1. Y'all got like 4 or 5 wide receiver 2s. So it is what it is. At this point, I see the Lions running away with the division.
I agree, man. I think even without the Love injury, he did not look good. He played the entire game. And he was like, I want to say completed 50% of his passes, just was missing dudes. He hit Jaden Reed with that long 70-yard touchdown, but it's like everyone gets their, their deep throw. It's like kind of the easier throw to make when you have what seems to be, a breakout wide receiver, Jaden Reed. And then the Bears, man, they could not stop the run. They allowed Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, and even Treylon Burks and Will Levis to get some rushes. That was 26 for 140 with 1 touchdown. So their run defense looks weak, which bodes amazing for the Lions. Dave Montgomery is going to go for at least 100 touchdown, and Gibbs will probably have a 50-50 split receiving and rushing. But the one thing that stands out the most on this Bears game, and it's not Caleb Williams. I know he played bad. It's DeAndre Swift, man. He had a bad game. 10 carries, 30 yards, and this was a team or a game where they were leading the entire fourth quarter. This game script was, DeAndre Swift from the first quarter, partial way of the second quarter. Then they started to kind of, fall to a 17-3 lead. Then all of a sudden, it's 17-14, 24-27, and they're winning this game. DeAndre Swift finished 10 for 30 and had a rush of 20 yards, meaning if you take away that 20-yard rush, he had 9 carries for 10 yards.
You know what you just described to me, Adam? You told me that their run defense is weak. Then you tell me that their run game, including DeAndre Swift, was weak. To me, that spells just what we all thought before the season were the Bears' biggest weaknesses, and they cannot win a lot of games with a poor interior defensive line and a poor interior offensive line. So the Lions are, if the Lions are fully healthy going into the Bears, Caleb Williams gonna have a day, bro. Caleb Williams gonna have the worst day of his existence against the Lions.
Yeah, and we also saw it too. Caleb Williams, he's still trying to play like he's playing at USC, and it's like, no, man. Only Lamar Jackson can spin away from two defenders 8-10 yards deep and then be able to either A, complete a pass, run for 2 yards or a 2-yard gain, or just bomb it and throw it away. Caleb Williams, you're not fast enough. You're not elusive enough. These pro defensive linemen will get you down. And hopefully he still keeps that confidence and thinks he can do it until, week 8, 9, then realizes, wow, this shit's not working out. So
yeah, maybe Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, that's it.
Yes. And then also too, if we're talking about the NFC North, I think the Lions are in perfect position to start to run away like they did last year. And if Caleb Williams or Jordan Love aren't just perfect the last 8 games, Jordan Love's going to be coming off injury. Didn't look great. Caleb Williams still a rookie with, not the best offense, because everyone was talking about this high-powered DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, O'Dunes, all blah, 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 blah. They didn't do much. So if either of those guys are not perfect, the Lions will, be skipping away with this NFC North. And honestly, this could be very beneficial to us because we have a tough schedule. This allows us to, not have as much pressure on beating the Texans, beating even like the Cowboys, Bills, some of these other 49ers, some of these other elite teams. Yes, it would be huge to beat those teams, but I feel like we're going to be starting to play with house money towards the end of the season, where it's like we're going for that one spot and we have the North locked up.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's coaching too. I think the Lions have by far the best coaching staff and the best front office in the division. And I think it's really starting to show. What do you think of the Vikings? Do you think they can?
I think they were playing the Giants. Sam Darnold looked solid, but the Giants and Daniel Jones just truly looked like they're competing with the Panthers for the worst team in the NFL. And the Panthers are, as we know, just an awful team, had like 1, maybe 2 wins last year. And the Vikings are almost made the playoffs. They almost snuck in, but as you guys know, Kirk Cousins got injured. And also Kirk Cousins didn't look too hot either. The Achilles tear is very real. If you didn't see it last night, as well. Aaron Rodgers, his arm looks fine, but he is not mobile. If you get a pass rush, he's going down or he's throwing it away. So those two guys, I didn't expect much. Do kind of wish they were still in the division for the Lions to absolutely whoop on, but whatever. They're gone. Don't need to care about them anymore. So let's talk a little defense about these Lions, because we had a few dudes kind of, stand out. Anzalone probably was the biggest. This dude last year wasn't a one season wonder, wasn't a fluke season. He picked up right where he left off, being just the leader of this defense. Dan Campbell absolutely loves this guy, says he's the quarterback on the defense, runs the whole defense. And 3-4 years ago, if I told you Alex Anzalone is going to be, quarterbacking the Lions defense and being one of the best linebackers probably in the NFL, at least the NFC, you'd call me crazy, because Anzalone was a, kind of just role player, get your 60% snaps, rotating in with the other linebackers. And now 13 total tackles, 10 solo, and 3 tackles for losses. Anzalone, a phenomenal game. Was there any other defenders that just like right off the top of your mind, you just go to them knowing that they had a great game?
Well, I mentioned Derek Barnes earlier in our show. He joined Anzalone. Not as great stats, but definitely made an impact. And Anzalone, he's really turned into like the Jared Goff of the defense. He came along the first year with Campbell and Holmes. They signed him over from New Orleans. Campbell was familiar with him, pretty much gave him the captaincy to the defense, and he hasn't looked back, a la Jared Goff on the offense. But just thinking about Aiden Hutchinson, I mean, how dominant of a game did Aiden Hutchinson have? He was such a dog. He won 47.3% of his pass rush attempts. That pass rush win rate is beyond elite, and it was number one in the NFL in week 1. He had 1 sack, but he could have easily had like 3 or 4 if we could finish him.
Yeah. And I was happy he kind of got that, that freebie with Stafford
me
towards
too.
the end of the game where it was just, they knew they were passing. Stafford was trying to hold on to it to let his guys get deep. And
He had too good of a game for him to come away with no sacks.
Exactly. So people could say, his sack he got was, it was pointless. It was towards the end of the game was when Stafford was just trying to send this game to overtime or win it with a field goal. But it just, counters out that missed sack that he had on Stafford that I don't think we're going to see Hutch do that again. I think these are things where he is like, this is never happening to me again, because that's just the type of dude he is. He's a just like hardworking, just driven type, get the job done no matter what type player. And Hutch, I think this is just signs to come. And that 1 sack was just, hey, we will take it. Keep him coming, baby.
Yeah. And shout out to Terrion Arnold, too, in his NFL debut. He didn't get burnt that bad. He didn't get picked on that much. I know the Rams lost Puka about halfway through the game, but he held down pretty well. And Carlton Davis on the other side, I think he's a definite upgrade over Cam Sutton, even after 1 game.
Yeah, and to quote the great Nick Faber, he was saying this all last night. Terrion Arnold, don't talk about him, but you can listen. And that's who he kind of was. He was, everyone was like, hey, where's Terrion? What's he doing? And it was like, no, he's shutting down whoever he's covering, and they're not targeting him. That's what he's doing. That's why he's not making tackles, making pass deflections.
And one more player, Levi Ozaworki. I mean, we've been talking about him all preseason, and he came up with another sack in this game, and he looked like he's going to be in a rotation. So it's great to see him come around as well.
And then a little defensive snap percentage stats. We had Brian Branch and Anzalone played 100%. Carlton Davis, 99%. Terrion, 97. Kirby, 96. And then a few guys lower down the list. Hutch played 90%. Aleem, 87%. Was sweet to see Aleem out there that much because he's a big dude. When you have dudes that big, they get tired quick. But Aleem, we're seeing what he was talking about, what the beat reporters were talking about, shed that 15 pounds of fat, probably turned it into muscle, and now is much more of an athletic player of what he was last year. So if Aleem can just keep taking these steps, we get Levi to actually pan out as a second-round pick. This kind of, it's interesting. I feel like we're going to see Levi and Josh Paschal absolutely just switch spots, where beginning of the season last year, Paschal was like, all right, I think he had a sack in like the first or second game, and he kind of had a glimmer of hope and then just kind of fizzled off. But if Levi can just, be this dominant defensive end role with Davenport, that would be phenomenal. It was interesting. I will say the one guy that didn't have as much snaps as I would have expected, Jack Campbell, only 56%, but I think this plays a big role into just how well Derek Barnes has been playing, and just the fact that you cannot take Anzalone off the field. He is too good. His motor is just as good, if not better, than Aiden Hutchinson. Both of those dudes are just, push until I bring you down type players.
For sure. And shout out to Lee McNeil, too. It'd be interesting to see what happens when DJ Reader possibly comes back this next week. And his snap share shouldn't be as high, but it should be much more effective, especially when they play next to each other.
Yeah, 100%. And then on offense, we saw outside the linemen and Jared Goff, they all played 100%. Amon-Ra played 98% of the snaps, so it's not like Amon-Ra was, not playing a whole lot. He was still out there. He was still, I believe part of the reason JMO got so open was because they had to focus on Amon-Ra. This is our best offensive player. You can't lose to him. And now we're starting to see teams. Well, hopefully they'll be thinking, all right, well, now we have to count for JMO and Amon-Ra. And then when that happens, it's just going to be a chain effect. I truly think we're going to see a week-by-week basis of first JMO pops off, then it's Amon-Ra, then it's Laporta, then it's Gibbs, then it's Montgomery, then it's back to Laporta, then it's JMO, then, and it's just going to go back and forth. Obviously, everyone will, have, not everyone, but most guys will, produce solidly, like, Laporta, I'll take 4 for 45, had a couple nice catches. That's, reasonable for him. But we're not going to see anything where, like, I guess I should take that back because I'm right 3 for 13. But you're where I'm going. It's like the teams cannot account for all these superstar players, and the Lions, we just have the guys right now.
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's just going to be a bloodfest. And I mean, Laporta, he's going to eat because he does his work in a very peculiar part of the field. The running backs are going to eat. I mean, you might even see Tim Patrick finally. Matter of fact, do you think Tim Patrick or Allen Robinson is going to get called up here? And
I'm not sure. So we did see someone other
Kennedy.
than Khalif, J-Mo, and Amon-Ra play wide receiver. Tom Kennedy came in for 4 snaps, 7%. A couple of them were, I believe, towards the very end of the game when the Lions were just trying to make that game-tying field goal where I don't know if Khalif was tired, if J-Mo was tired or something. But I do think that probably Tim Patrick will be elevated at some point. Part of this is we don't really need him right now. We don't need that, that end zone not deep threat, that big body type wide receiver. Obviously it would help, but this is a dude that's coming off an Achilles tear and an ACL tear. So if we can, save him for the second half of the season, or even, if Khalif or Amon-Ra or J-Mo, are out a couple games, that would be nice to have Tim Patrick come in and just, ball out. But another thing I noticed, running backs. This was interesting. We saw both Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery have huge games, but it was Jahmyr Gibbs who outsnapped David Montgomery just barely. And if you think about it, watching that game, to me, my first thoughts like, no way. Montgomery was in on, just about every important drive, I guess, except for, when the Lions went on to tie the game up. But Montgomery seemed like he was playing a lot. But what it was Montgomery and Gibbs were out there at simultaneous times, and then there was just solo Gibbs. So Gibbs had 51%. I don't think this is going to change. I believe these guys are going to be 50-50 splits until, I don't know, I keep saying Jahmyr Gibbs is going to take over and just be that dude, but David Montgomery looked good, man.
Yeah, he did. And he was a battering ram at the end of that game. It was so perfectly planned. The Rams defense was so tired from playing that whole game. And just to get piled on by the offensive line and David Montgomery, it was a sight to see. It's everything the Lions have been built for. It's going to be so hard to beat the Lions when they do that at the end of games.
We just the great part is we have so many different guys that can just take over and beat you. And God forbid, 2 guys pop off like Monty and J-Mo. It's going to be tough to beat the Lions. If we have 2 guys that pop off, it's going to be tough sledding. And I'm excited to see, even the Bucs next week, who, their defense did get banged up. We stole Carlton Davis from them, which will be revenge game, Carlton Davis. And, they were still a playoff team. So if we can handle them, and the fact that we played the Bucs and the Rams 2 of our last 3 games, and now they're our first 2 games, it's extremely hard to beat a team within 8 month span, honestly, a calendar year span.
The same 2 teams we ended the season beating before we lost to the 49ers. It's a great two teams to open a season with, a great test. And I think we passed the first part of the test with the Rams.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I think the big game is going to be that Monday Night Football against Seattle. If we can handle Seattle, then man, oh man, I'll be so happy. Part of me thinks that we should be able to, because I do believe it was a Pete Carroll thing where Pete Carroll owned Dan Campbell, which that just happens. Some coaches own certain coaches, and that was the reason why. So he's gone. They got the old Michigan defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald. Yeah. So will be interesting to see how they play. Seahawks, they allowed 20 points to the Broncos, so it's not like they're a stellar team. But let's hop into the Bucs game. Do a little preview there. So, Julius, give me your keys to victory. I think we were all kind of hit on the nose with the last week where it was just no bad mistakes, need a good pass rush, and just the run game. That was it. Run game, pass rush, and no big mistakes.
Yeah, so my 3 was to get to Stafford and don't give him time to just dot us up. Obviously, that strategy only goes so far because Stafford did a really good job of getting rid of the ball, even when our pass rush hit home. So I think we need to carry that same strong pass rush over to the Buccaneers and give Baker Mayfield hell, kind of like we did last year in the playoffs when we forced him to throw multiple interceptions. I think CD Deuce had one, and Derek Barnes to end the game had one on Baker Mayfield, and Aiden Hutchinson had like a sack, 2 sacks, 2.5 sacks against him. So I think we can continue to bring that strong defensive pressure on Baker Mayfield. Second key to the game, I would say JMO Part 2. JMO Part 2. Look for JMO. I know they're going to be down some guys in the secondary, just like the Rams. Look for JMO to go off. And I don't expect Amon-Ra St. Brown to stay quiet forever.
No chance.
Yeah. And then my last key to the game is Jake Bates and special teams. We could continue not to bloat it. Jake Bates can continue to gain all of our trust in Lion Land when he doesn't blow the game for the Lions against the Buccaneers. Don't miss any extra points. Don't miss any 30-yard gimmies, 40-yard gimmies. And maybe even, we go up big and hit a long 50-yarder. So shout out to special teams. Shout out Jalen Reeves-Maven. Maybe see a fake punt with Sione Vaki, who, by the way, played some fullback, played some tight end, played some receiver. He only played about 5 or 6 snaps, but he played a different position in almost every snap he took. So he might be Brian Johnson's new Swiss Army knife. So look out for that.
And hey, man, I know Ben Johnson didn't come from New Orleans, but Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn did, and they know who Taysom Hill is. So granted, Baki's not a quarterback, but same type of skill set where these are just the dude that just puts 100% into whatever he's doing, blocking, catching, special teams, whatever. And I do think that Dan Campbell, someone tweeted this out. They were like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see Vaki take a direct snap off a punt, 30 yards for, a touchdown or big gain, because that is absolutely going to happen. We are slowly putting him in there every single play, getting teams like used to the fact that, oh, he's a special teams dude. And then boom, out of nowhere, Vaki is just going to take some end around, a CJ Moore-esque play. And that honestly might be a big reason to why CJ Moore didn't make this team, where it was like, hey, if we need a special teams gadget fake punt dude, it's Vaki now, and he can kind of do it all. So I'm excited for that. Jack Fox, while we're talking special teams, was phenomenal. Should have had a punt inside the 5-yard line. I'm counting that as a inside the 5-yard line punt, but as we know, Enos Rakestraw was just so amped up, came barreling down the field, and just, I don't know what he was. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he thought once you touch it, that's where it's down, because he full on did a rock star slide into this football, smacking it through the end zone. When honestly, if no one touched the ball, it was staying inside that 5-yard line. So Jack Fox, hell of a punt. Rakestraw, I'm glad he made that mistake in a game we won. It's just rookie mistakes are going to happen. Yeah. He's going to learn from it. So my keys to victory for this game, yes, we need a JMO Part 2. We're going to need a JMO Part. I'm going to be saying JMO Part 17 is what we need. Actually 16, but actually 17, my bad, is what we need to happen, because it's going to be happening every single week. JMO is not. This is the one-time wonder. Maybe if he got 3 targets and caught one 50-yard bomb, but this was a 30-yard catch, a 50-yard touchdown catch, an end around 9 targets. Ben Johnson wants to incorporate this dude. And him not having any, bad plays, bad drops. He might have had, 1 or 2 drops, but it was like tough coverage, and it wasn't, a true drop, which what people think, of a drop when they hear that. So JMO Part 2. Also, I messed up. I was planning on eating a JMO McDouble live on air, which I will make. I'll absolutely make a video of me eating a JMO burger. I'm going to eat a JMO burger, as you guys, or if you don't know, it's I want to say a double cheeseburger, maybe just regular McDonald's cheeseburger with just a little.
It's a McDouble with a McFlurry.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, McDouble with a little dollop of McFlurry on top. So I did it last year, and maybe it's starting to pan out. I don't remember when I did it, but maybe it was right before that playoff run and when J-Mo, broke out. But in J-Mo's last 2 games, he's got 251 yards and 3 touchdowns. And these are against 2 playoff teams, one being the 49ers. So this dude, this isn't a fluke. This is happening. He was a first-round pick. I could get, if he was a 4th rounder, just popping off every now and then. But this is what we've been waiting for. So J-Mo part 2. I want to see another good run attack. If we could just pound the rock, then we'll be good. And then finally, Goff. I want to see just our prime, our golden boy, Jared Goff, come back to normal, throw for 275, 300, 2-3 touchdowns, and the Lions just have a start to finish dominating game over the Bucs, which I do believe we can do because that's kind of what we did in the playoffs. Yes, the Bucs lingered and made it a 1-score game, but it wasn't really until the end when it was like, oh, they might be able to tie this up with a 2-point conversion. It was, the Lions handled them the full game, and then we took off with it. So those are my 3 keys to victory. And
you want to do predictions?
Oh yeah, let's do a couple score predictions. And last week, Julius, I believe you're the winner. You picked 30-20. We're just 4 points off of the exact score. Can't imagine what that would have paid in Vegas, but 30-20 would have been a big buck too.
Yeah, this week I'm going another Lions victory, and I'm going Lions 27. Actually, sorry, I'm going Lions 30, Buccaneers 17.
Love it. So they're getting a little extra, 4 more points.
55-yard field goal by Jake Bates. Ford Field.
I need it. What do you think more? What do you think's more likely, 55-yard field goal by Bates or a 55-yard touchdown pass for J-Mo?
Ooh, I'm gonna say the 55-yarder to J-Mo. That's more likely.
Ooh, I love it too, especially with Winfield being down. It is what it is. Not celebrating or anything like some Jordan Love truthers thought I was celebrating a certain injury on Twitter. But it's also is nice that the Packers are in sole last place right now. That was the one silver lining of the Bears and Vikings winning. It was like, oh, Green Bay, how's the weather down there? So for me, I do think it'll be I think we're going to score more points than what we did. It took us overtime to get to 26, 27 if you count an extra point. But I think the Lions will come out. I will go would you say 31 or would you say 30?
I said 30.
All right, I'm going to go 31. I think the Lions get 4 touchdowns and a field goal, 55-yarder from Jake Bates. I'm going to go 31-17, just a classic 2-score victory. But I will say the Bucs did look, decent. Baker looked pretty sharp. So if we can just kind of contain Baker, which I might throw that into one of my keys, containing Baker, not letting him have just a phenomenal game and shutting down Rachaad White, who I want to say had a pretty solid game, not in the playoffs, but when we played them in the regular season. So, and then also too, that's not even a thing I thought of. We will have played the Bucs 3 times in like the last 15 months-ish. Yeah, 15 months. Yeah. So it's hard to go 3-0 against any NFL team that's not like the Bears right now. So the Lions, I think we're fine. I think this sets up for a perfect bounce back game from a game that we probably could have lost but ended up winning. So I like that. I don't think that the trap aspect is there. I do believe the Bucs will, give us a little fight, but 31-17, Lions pull away.
Love it, bro. Love
but
it.
That's all we got for you guys today. As always, check us out on Twitter at the 5th Top 4. Yes, I got it right. 5th Top 4 Julius and Everyday FFB for myself. And of course, follow the main source of all your Lions news, notes, memes, fun stuff, and stats. Honolulu Blues _ If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, give us a like, give us some comments. We love it all. If you're watching on Twitter, give us some comments there too. We love it all as well. But as always,
go